This edition is actually powered by the National Coalition for Safe Schools. So NCSS has actually done a few of these with us. It's been great. We're talking about really important content. Tonight, we are talking about getting ready for schools reopening. And this edition is specifically focused on pre-K through grade 5. And tonight we have Diane Smokorowski as our wonderful moderator. She has been so kind to moderate some of these in the past for us. She's lovely. She's the 2019 National Teacher Hall of Fame inductee. Yay. As well as 2013 Kansas Teacher of the Year. So Diane, without further ado, thank you and take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday and happy Teacher Talk Day. We are excited to be here with you this evening, and I'm just really excited about the opportunity for us to talk about what we need to put in place to help our students, and especially those elementary littles, to come back into school, feel safe, and feel like they're part of a community. So I'm very excited to welcome the panelists with us here this evening. I'll pass it over to each of them to introduce themselves. But let's start with Dana. Hi, Dana.
Hello, good evening or good afternoon, depending on where you are coming from. My name is Dana Boyd. I am a elementary school principal at Parkland Elementary School in El Paso, Texas. During my journey, I've been the 2007 Teacher of the Year, Texas Teacher of the Year, 2016 National Distinguished Principal for Texas. And through all of that, have had the opportunity to impact and make relationships with students, teachers, and parents. So I am so glad to be able to be here. We opened our schools back in October. So we have been back in the virtual and face-to-face platform since October. So I'm glad to be here and hope I can be of assistance to someone.
Wonderful. We're so glad to have you, Dana. And Precious, handing it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Precious Allen. I'm in my 9th year of teaching. I'm currently on the south side of Chicago teaching at Betty Shabazz International Charter School. I was named the top 10 Illinois State Teacher of the Year finalist. And I'm also an international children's book author of the book Love You for You. It's a book that teaches about self-esteem and self-confidence. So I'm so excited to be here, and thank you so much for having me on this platform.
Here we are in that 4th quarter of the school year, and we have teachers who are kind of just taking a deep breath, holding on to the end of the year, and then this idea of, do we go back to normal or do we go back to better? And how do we go back to better with our littles? Dana, let's start with you. What are some things that you've learned this year as you've transitioned having students back in the classroom? What are things that you've found that support children to feel part of a community?
So thank you. That's a great question. I don't think that there will ever be a normal anymore, to be quite honest with you. I don't know that we'll ever fully go back to normal anymore. I've said myself, this feels like my first year of being a principalship, and all of our teachers, I said, we are going to go in like it's our first year of teaching, because we are experiencing something that we have never experienced before. One of the things that I would say for the support for the students as a building school principal is to be able to make those relationships with your students from day one. I was at the door on Meet the Teacher night. I was there to be able to personally greet them as they came in, to be able to greet the parents, and to be able to let them know that we've done everything that we can to make our area safe. Also to be visible in the classroom, not just as an administrator that is coming to do walkthroughs, but just as someone that they can trust, that they can count on, someone that they know is going to be there to support them. We personally have rapid testing that we have available in our schools every week. Of course, that's with parent permission. So that was really traumatizing for some students, not what we had done, but some students had actually had the COVID test where it's very painful. And we were letting them know that this process is not, it's not anything that's going to be able to hurt you. So I was there giving those rapid tests with them just to be able to, like I said, be someone as a familiar face. This is my first year at this campus, so I was new to many of the parents and students. So I believe it's all about, building relationships and also talking to the parents, right? Because their parents are sending us their greatest asset. And I tell our teachers, without the students, we will have no jobs. So to be able to be a good listener, to be able to listen to the parents' questions, because every question that they have is a valid question and a learning experience for us. So I would just say, be a listener. There's going to be things that you think is perfect and it ends up being disastrous, but you take that opportunity to learn and do better. So that's just a few support systems that I say to be able to be there. You have to build relationships before the academics are going to come. So most of the time was built on the social emotional before we jumped right into the academics.
And I think that's the summary of it all, right? That everything starts with love first and then teach second, right? And Precious, I know you're also working with young teachers, early career educators. This we would have never predicted your first year or at least your first few years in education in 2020, 2021. What are things that you have guided other young teachers when it came to this transition back on campus or supporting them this year?
One thing that I did was to not be so hard on ourselves. I just in a nutshell, I was trying to find a nicer way to say it. Teachers are very, we're very sensitive about our craft, you know, and we want to know that we're doing a good job. We want to see the results, and it's hard to see it from behind a computer screen, or if you have 4 students in front of you through hybrid and the other 26 at home. Reimagine what we would like education to be, because now more than ever, I feel like teachers are now being listened to. At first, we kind of didn't have a voice. Well, first we didn't have a voice. It was just, you know, a lot of legislation, you know, telling us what to do, and then the policymaker. Then it trickles down to us, and we just have to do it. You know, just kind of a shut up and teach kind of thing. But now that it's like the universities have taught us to drive a car, and the pandemic forced us to know how to fly an airplane, now it's like a panic mode of like, okay, what do we do? Now they're coming to the practitioners, now they're coming to the experts. So I really push teachers to more than ever use this platform as a way to voice how they feel, whether you are experiencing Zoom fatigue, you know, whether what you're being asked of is unrealistic. You know, there were times where we were asked to gather student data virtually, and it's like, how can I do that? You know, when kids are insecure, you're in their home, they feel like you may have invaded their home. You know, in certain communities, it's very sensitive. You know, you're looking into my home, so it's a certain guard that's up. So they're kind of sensitive about that. Everything that's happened during the pandemic with the riots, and you know, some kids are going through trauma. So it's just a lot that has happened that you know, a lot of barriers that have been put in place that teachers have to kind of break through. And when we can't, you know, accomplish certain things, we kind of come down hard on ourselves. So one thing that I've kind of guided teachers towards is to just use this experience as a way to become an advocate for your classroom, an advocate for your students, an advocate for your cohort. You know, just use this as an opportunity, because now they're actually coming to us and they're actually listening to us. And this is a really big deal in education right now.
Truly, you know, that folks are listening and listening with open hearts. That's definitely a shift in a different direction especially when we're trying to make sure that not only our children are safe, but our teachers okay as well. And Dana, I know that you've already made this a priority in your building of not just how are the students are okay, how are the teachers, how is the school nurse, how is the custodian, how are you making sure your staff is okay?
It just goes by being present. You have to be present in your building. Like I said before, one of the things is talk to every single person about what is their concerns, to be able to listen, right? I like the way that Precious said that there's mandates that come down and they are to follow them, where there's mandates that principals get and we're supposed to follow through. But as a building leader, you do have the capacity to be able to pipe it down a little bit and to be able to adjust what your teachers can take. So I really think the most important is celebrating them. Every single Friday, I find some way to be able to celebrate our teachers, our custodians, to be able to tell them what great things that they're doing with the walkthroughs that were mandated. It's glows and grows. How can you just say all bad things when everything is so new for everyone, even your experienced teachers? So like I said, sitting the time to be able to talk to every single person, to be able to see their fears, and looking at everybody in the face when they walk in. I'm standing at that front door when each teacher walks in, and I can tell if they're having a good day or a bad day. And I will immediately tell them, you know what, come on over here. What's going on? If you need to go home, I'm going to send them home if you need coverage, because it is mentally draining. I don't send emails after 5 o'clock because everybody needs to have that balance, to include myself. Nothing's going to get done from 5 o'clock to the next day anyway. So you need to allow your teachers to be able to have that balance. So just minimizing some of those things of the mistakes that I have done in the past, and really focus on meeting the needs of the teachers. And they're going to disagree with me. Some things will agree to disagree. And other things I'll say, my bad, you know what, you're right. I didn't see it from that perspective, but we're all learning this together. So just taking the time, relationships, 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 and celebrating everything that they're doing.
I love that you said you're celebrating folks on Friday. What are some strategies or what activities that you put in place to do that?
Gosh, there's been Sonic, that we went and bought everybody Sonic slushies. We have done, gosh, what did we do last Friday? I'm just trying to think of, we've done lollipops, we've done nachos, we've done pie, we've done every piece of candy that you can think about for teacher celebration. We went into the community to be able to get businesses to be able to sponsor every single grade level team and support personnel dinner with their friends. So it's just being able, really the communities are there to support teachers. And it could be, one was just actually everyone write a sticky note of support to someone not in your grade level, because we kind of tend to stay in our lane, but get out there and get to know everybody. So it could be simple. It's nothing that's expensive, but it's just giving shout outs on the announcements to various teachers. We've done the lucky duck, going old school, to be those of you all that are old enough to remember, like you used to actually call into a radio station and say, caller number 7, who's caller number 7? Yes, you are the lucky one. Yes. So doing that, just get on the announcements and say, I am looking for caller number 7, and caller number 7, you get this. Jeans, to be honest with you, I told my teachers, if you come comfortable, and excuse the word, not hoochified, I just want you to come comfortable and to be able to represent the profession and just give your best. And I'm not going to be on top of everybody about, the way that they have to be dressed. It's just, we are still representing the profession of educators, and just keeping it live, keeping it good, playing music in the morning. Just some of those things that just kind of keep everybody upbeat. And read your staff. If you know that everybody looks zonked out, send them home that day. To be honest with you, it's like, everybody pack up your stuff and just go home and spend time with your family. So it's things of that sort.
I love that. It's almost as if the teachers are maybe having that fear of missing out of what's going to happen. That's this moment to be a community on Fridays. So other way to call it Friday. I like that. Dana, thank you. All right, Precious, we've got a question from Melissa in the audience. How can administrators who are not already giving their teachers a seat at the table begin to open up and provide a voice?
I definitely agree with what Dana mentioned about just being present and listening. I just finished my my EDS and educational leadership, and it's a lot of things, and I'm like, oh, that's why they do that, or that's why they do that. So, but I think that the key with the administration that I have is that they're not far removed from the classroom. Like, for example, my principal has been at the school for 23 years, and he's been the principal for 12. But you wouldn't know. Like, he's still in the trenches with us. He's very present. He's very relatable. The things he asks are realistic. Like Dana said, if the board tosses him 10 things, he scales it down and trickles it down to us. So he's very empathetic, with the way that, because he knows that just like in the classroom, if the teacher's frantic, the kids are going to be frantic, so he definitely sets the tone for the school. So I think that, one way that they can, one thing administration can do to let teachers know that it's safe to voice their opinions, because retaliation is real in some school buildings. So maybe create professional learning committees where teachers can, take on a leadership role. I feel like good leaders also create leaders within their building, or creating, teacher leadership positions or committees. Just, I know I was once at a school where each floor had a sponsor. So everyone would submit their questions or their concerns anonymously or not, and then the sponsor would come forth, and if you submitted anonymous, they would not tell who said it. So and people were pretty, everything was pretty professional. Like, oh, I don't, can you keep the noise down from these hours? Or, we've just gotten our third curriculum in 3 years, how are we supposed to XYZ? So I just think, just creating that platform and not creating it as an I got you moment, but a sincere platform where teachers feel safe voicing their opinions, and they feel like they're not just feel like you're being heard but actually knowing that you're being listened to. And action doesn't always have to happen. Like some board meetings don't come to a conclusion until 4 or 5 meetings, so it's not like we'll voice our opinions and we want action right away, but just to kind of know that, we are being looked at as someone that came into the building with some kind of background knowledge and when our students come into the room, we don't look at them as a blank slate. And sometimes I feel like when teachers enter a new job or the field, they're looked at as someone that doesn't know anything, that needs to be trained up and molded and one size fits all. So I think that, just looking at us as the practitioners that we are, as the experts that we are, I think that that's a good way to just kind of bridge that gap of administration and teacher. I feel like sometimes there's a us against them kind of mentality, which can kind of stand in the way of that. But when we look at it as, we are all stakeholders under one same umbrella, I think that that's a way for teachers to feel comfortable speaking up.
I like that. We're all stakeholders in these lives of these children, right? I think that's beautifully said. So, Dana, let's talk about the littles. We focus a lot on teachers, but let's talk about our kids. And some of our students, have been doing the virtual experience for quite some time and coming into school, some for the first time recently, where, everybody's a little bit different in their stories, of course, but how do we scaffold those experiences so that when those children come into a classroom, this is my safe space. This is the place that sees me and loves me and wants me to be there. What are some things that teachers can do?
So some of the things, like I said, the teachers can do for those that are coming, I just want to be able to say, just be present. If you have those students that were in virtual and they are starting to come on into the face-to-face, I would say first, let everybody know what's going on, right? Because it's that child's first day of school. So basically every Monday, we have to create the first day of school for those students that are starting that following week. So just as you give that hoo-ha that you do for that first day of school, you have to make that first day memorable for them, because this is going to make or break their face-to-face experience, right? So it's a lot of us saying like, welcome that you're here. We're so glad that you are here. We have provided the school supplies for them. Don't worry about school supplies, this, that, or the other. We've got it taken care of. Uniforms. Some just don't have the money to be able to have the uniform. So we got you. Like, don't worry about it. We just want you to be able to come into that happy space. Make it a deal, just like what you would do when you have a new student come to class. And to be honest with you, it's exciting for the students to actually be able to see a full body rather than a face of somebody that they've seen just a box. And then this whole body gets to be able to come in there. So it's about establishing those relationships. Restorative discipline circles are amazing in building that community environment and allowing the students to be able to talk with each other in circles, to be able, it's just all about building those relationships. So, and they are scared to be able to come in, but when they come in and you walk them around and you say, hey, this is that, we're excited to be able to have you here. You know, you have the thing taking their temperature, and that's weird, right? But then they see this is just the protocol, and they see all of the students coming in, do the hand sanitizer as you come in. There's marks on the floor for the 6 feet. So when they see that everybody is following the same protocols, they begin to feel safe. So those are just some of the things, like I said, just make it like that child's first day of school, because it literally is when they walk into that building, whatever time the parent has decided to, okay, I'm still worried about this, but I know that this is just the best, then we make it like that first day of school, welcoming them on the announcements, or just making just a big production for them as they come in.
I like that. And I've seen on social media, it could be February, it could be, December, and there's that first day of school photo for that child that's coming in. And that's a really great point. The fact that this year could have had, 180 first days of school.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
really, yes.
It really is. It really is. Definitely. And then you have those students who move into the school that are virtual. So it's their first day of school also, right? That they're just moving into your community. So you have to do the same thing in a virtual platform for those that are starting also. So it's just creating those experiences for them, for them to feel comfortable.
Exactly. Precious, you've probably had some students that have popped in different times of the year as well. What have you done in your classroom to welcome them?
Oh, it's definitely exhausting having to reinvent yourself 180 times. But we did go hybrid 3 weeks ago. I was nervous. I let the kids know I'm nervous. Just like every first day of school, I read the first day of school book. Like the teacher's nervous, doesn't want to get out of bed. So I let the kids know I'm just as nervous as you are. So being relatable kind of broke the ice, made them laugh. Like Dana said, it was like a big celebration. We decorated their seats. We gave them stickers because they have these little glass dividers, which to me kind of, it's just so much like when you visit someone in prison in the little glass, so their friend is there, they can't touch them, I brought them a bunch of stickers, so they were so excited to like decorate their little blinders. We got them coloring books, paint, Play-Doh, bubbles. We took them out to recess today. Before we went out, we dressed up Today was Hawaiian Day, so we wore our little necklaces, our glasses. We took pictures and photos. So just celebrating with them. A lot of them, today was their first day going out and actually having recess. We're actually, playing outside, and there's another kid at the park with them. So just keeping those experiences in mind, that to me it's like, oh, I'm just taking them outside, but for a lot of them it was their first, it was their first everything. So I don't take light of that. We've been taking a lot of pictures, putting collages together for parents, because the parents are nervous, like, my baby's been with me or at home all year, you know they're nervous. I want to go into Zoom, but I don't want to embarrass them because their parents, I'm there, I'm the only parent there. So, we send those photos out to parents too, just to let them, just see like how happy the child, their kid is, and things like that. But I do have some students that have been absent for like 3-4 weeks at a time. And then when they come back, our morning meeting is like centered around them. It's like a village. Like, how are you? We miss you. Like, everyone's putting a little heart emoji on their screen. So it's just, just making them feel special and letting them know that they are. That has been like the biggest way that my students have felt welcome. And it's so funny because the personalities that we saw on the screen is who they are in person. And it's just like, oh, I get to finally see it in person. And they're like, you're tall. I'm like, I know. I thought you were short. Like, I'm 6 feet tall. They're like, oh my God, you're so tall. So just having those moments, like, I am not I'm not taking any of those moments for granted at all.
Yes. And, even for those of us who've been on social media prior to the pandemic, we would, connect with things on Twitter. And then when you go to a conference, people were in 3D. It was like, family, right?
Yeah.
And you've created that with your students. They had this network of people, and then my family's in 3D. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we have created new firsts that weren't possible before with connections. Yeah. Because of the situation.
Yeah.
Even if it is a little awkward trying to navigate that 3D space, right?
Yeah.
So, here we are, and we've got a few weeks left of school. Dana, you're probably down to the last 4 or 5 weeks of school, right?
June 10th is our last day.
June 10th?
Yeah.
And Precious, do you go through about mid-June?
Yeah, I think we're June 11th.
Oh, very close.
Yeah.
So I think as I've been just listening to teachers who are very tired. It feels like they've opened up the magic trick book, and they've run out of their tricks. And they're I'm trying everything I can to just bring back some magic to the classroom, but I'm hanging on by a thread, so to speak. And when we get to this fourth quarter, it's now time to ask, how do we want to end the year? What experience do we want our students to have emotionally and friendship wise, to say, this is the year that someone saw me. This was the year that I learned new skills, this new experience. Dana, how do you want to end the year?
I personally, I know my teachers are tired. I'm tired for them. I'm tired. So I've told my teachers, you know what, you do what you got to do. I have to be able to trust that you know what you're doing. If I happen to walk in there and you guys are doing something that's not on your daily schedule, that I'm going to trust that you know, or you're going to extend on something that you have to do. But I said, make it fun. Make it fun every day, make it memorable. The gaps aren't going to go away overnight. In 1 year, it's going to, from what I've heard, it might take some up to 4 years if they are able to catch up. So making it memorable, I made a way for us to be able to have spring pictures. We're making a way to be able to have the drive up awards assemblies because we cannot. We're having students come and do the video announcements so that the parents have recorded moments that they can have on YouTube forever of them leading the pledges and things of that nature. So it's going out of, like I said, their traditions. You know, Mother's Day, we can't have the 300 mothers that we would come in before. It's got to be different now. So it's really talking with each other to be able to say, what is a way that we can still have these traditional celebrations, but still make this school year a memorable one. And that's what I was telling my teachers. This is the new 9/11 for families, because this is something that we're going to look back in the history books and a child is going to say, I remember COVID-19, just like many of us, like my children, remember 9/11. So this is our new 9/11. So everything that we can do to letting the students come up with what it is that they want to do on some instances, what is another way that we can come up with this. And I also want to say one thing that we are going to do next year to make it memorable for our students is I'm having all of the students loop up together as a class together the following year. So everybody's heard of looping, that they loop, you know, with the teacher, but every class is moving up, not with the same teacher, but they're coming together because some still have never seen each other face to face, and the parents will be bringing them back next year for face to face. So I say, why go into mixing everybody up when everyone hasn't had a chance to be able to experience being together really face to face? So that's one of the things that we're going to do to help support them and their social emotional, is to be able to have them go up with their entire class together to continue to build those memories of how we went from COVID-19 to kind of whatever normal is going to look like for next year.
And I'd like to welcome our third panelist. It's truly my fault. Time zones mess me up, I have to tell you, but it's my pleasure to welcome Keith Reynolds. Keith, I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell them a little bit more about what you do.
Thank you, and I grossly apologize for the time zone error. My name is Keith Reynolds. I'm the Director of Diversity Training in Wichita, Kansas. I train our board members and our administrators, as well as staff, and students, as well as parents, is also on the agenda. And I've been with the Wichita Public School System for 15 years, and so I am grateful for being here. And again, I grossly apologize for the tardiness.
Well, we're here together on that one, so I apologize as well. But we were talking about, how do we want to end the year? How are we going to bring the, I don't want to call it the close, but the transition between the current grade and the next, with this moment to create a little bit of a magical space for children before the end of the year? Precious, I'll hand it to you first, and then I'll hand it to you, Keith, okay?
Thank you.
Diane, you mentioned that this is like the platform to kind of try, you know, new things, and so one thing every year I do I-Earn. I think you said you know that program. I-Earn, it's amazing. IEARN. And so this year we connected with schools in Moldova, Turkey, Argentina, West Virginia, all over. And one thing that we did is that we did a Where I'm From International Book Club group. And so we got to, my students were so shocked to learn that all the way across the world, students are experiencing the same anxieties as them, the same, you know, the same fears as them. And these students were from second grade to high school. But not just that, but oh, this high schooler also likes SpongeBob. I like SpongeBob. You know, this high schooler, you know, also likes vanilla ice cream. I like vanilla ice cream. So just breaking those age gaps and just, you know, just using that, I think that my students just appreciated just being able to go into, just travel into someone else's country without, you know, physically going there and just learn about them. They were so excited because to us we don't have an accent, but to them we do. So they was like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know, and vice versa. So that was a memorable experience. Where I was so blessed this year. I teach electrical engineering every year, and I have like 7 kits that 30 students usually share. But this year, I really wanted that experience for my students. So I was blessed to have raised $1,400 so each student could get their own personal kit. So we're starting our electrical engineering unit next Monday. So they all have their kits. They're all going to be able to do it whether they're at home or they're in person with me. That's something that they're really looking forward to. Attached to that is a Skype a scientist program where a real scientist, no matter where they are, they'll come in like deep in your whatever you're learning about, whether it's engineering, plants, whatever. So that's something that they're super excited about. So I think that the memories that we mostly created were inviting others to our classroom and then going to other people's classroom also. So that's something that they've really been excited about this year.
Precious, you and I need to talk. I have more goodies to share with you at some point. Keith, how do we want to end the year? Now that we're in this fourth quarter, a few weeks left to go, how do we want to make this moment special for teachers and students?
I would suggest that we enhance the relationships that we have with our kids. I think relationships are very important. I think that we also focus in on their particular needs. I think we should sit down with our kids, find out what their needs are, supply them with their needs, particularly if those students are struggling with so much of the transition that we've endured this year with COVID, with social unrest and various other things. Also try to assess how those things have impacted them so that we are able to provide a more well-rounded service for them and an education for them. In these situations, I think our kids are resilient enough to where they could share information with us. We just need to listen to them at times. In this case, for us to be able to close this year out with them, we let them know that they are included, that they belong, and that they are important. And as we go through that, we want to make sure that we focus on their needs, even on an academic level. I think our students are able to tell us what their needs are, particularly if they're culturally relevant needs and various things of that nature, so that we're able to provide them a sense that we are listening, we want them to grow. And I think it's also important that we share with them that we also have struggled with going through some of the things with COVID and some of the things also with social unrest, and that we share and give them information about uh, our struggles so that they don't feel like it's just solely upon them. We also have gone through a transition. It's good for them to know that we both are on this journey together, and that together we both will be successful in overcoming all those things, and that we have theirs, and that they can depend on us for support.
Agreed. And it goes back to what Dana said in the beginning. It's relationships, relationships, relationships
I
all the
agree.
way through. You know, social unrest is something that we have had a regular conversation around this year. And a lot of teachers trying to navigate that space of supporting students, supporting teachers, supporting themselves. What are some things that you've done in your building, Dana, to address social unrest and support all of your stakeholders?
So one of the things that I did is everybody's heard of book studies, and teachers are like, oh my God, like you're gonna seriously give me a book study during the pandemic? Like that makes no sense in regards to us. So what I decided to do was make it personal and have them relate to the students and whom we serve. So one of the first books at the beginning of the year that I had us read as a campus is Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes. And the entire staff read that book. Many people were not aware of who Emmett Till was. And these are grown adults to be able to say, I had never, ever heard of him before. And I was shocked that they had not experienced this. So for those of you who, without giving it away, Ghost Boys really takes place in regards to a young man who was shot by a police officer. And there's many ghosts that are Black males that have been killed. And all of the ghosts are coming back to kind of basically tell their story. And there's a young little girl whose dad is the policeman who shot this young African-American boy. And she goes to be able to see the ghost talk to her and tell her the story about what has happened in the past. Many of our teachers, when they heard Black Lives Matter, got very, very defensive and did not understand what that meant. Of course, everyone would say all lives matter, and we all believe that all lives matter, but I felt it was important for us to be able to understand where our students of color are coming from. So that was our book study. And that's how we were able to impact our thoughts. Not some changed, some did not. We also did our second book study after that was a book by Jeannie Sanchez called We Are Not From Here. And it deals with immigration from a child's perspective. And these students are having to get out of a situation to be able to come to America for safety reasons. And it took them through that, El Paso being a border town. And you want to talk about eye-opening and changing perspectives or seeing things a little bit more clearly, to be able to be more empathetic with our students. Because when I came, I kept hearing these kids, these parents, I don't understand this, I don't understand that. And this was a way for us to be able to put down those barriers and to have the conversation through literature. And when appropriate, our upper grades were able to read these stories to their children as, and their students in the classes read aloud. So that's one of the things that we did to impact our teachers here first, because they have to be able to understand and be empathetic to what they are seeing, especially in the virtual classrooms, when they're seeing a mama do this or a mama do that, and think that a Black mama is being mean. It has nothing to do with a Black mama being mean. This is just who we are. Or a Black girl being like, why is she so defensive? Those are just characteristics that some girls of color have. So it was great. That was an experience that we had to share to be able to be a little bit more open to what's going on in society.
As a teacher, I would have welcomed that so much, to have that space with my colleagues to have those conversations. I applaud that effort, and I can only guess how powerful those conversations were in your building. That's fantastic. Precious, is your school doing anything around social unrest and healing?
Yes, my school is actually African-centered. It's called Betty Shabazz after the Betty Shabazz activist. So we pretty much live in the culture every day, whether we were in person or not. Every morning when we were in person, I miss it, we would have our drum circle. So the entire school would meet in one common area and form a circle, and the drummers would be, playing their drums, and that's a language to summon everyone into one place. Different beats mean different things. So there are some beats that, letting you know that it's okay to talk. There's some beats that's letting you know that, okay, we're about to be silent. The elders are coming in. There are some, and we have our elders playing, and our young students playing too. So you get to see like generations, like 3 to 4 different generations at once. We have every Friday we had our birthday celebration. So whoever had a birthday within that week, they get to come to the circle. We will all sing in a mixture of English and Swahili, happy birthday to them. So, whatever curriculum we've gotten, we've understood that it's predominantly written by Europeans, and sometimes we don't see ourselves represented in it. So we take opportunities at the beginning of the school year to integrate the African culture into it. find ways to integrate literature, videos, bringing in different African American partnerships, things like that. So those are the things that we've done pre-pandemic. It has been difficult trying to maintain that virtually. Like we can't do a whole circle, and, you know, things like that. But one thing that we definitely did this year is that we have stuck with implementing the African culture into our curriculum. On Mondays, we do dress up in our African attire. So, you know, our students get their extra points for coming, you know, in their headdresses and their, you know, their different fabrics and garments and things like that. So those things have, my students have talked about how that's kind of making them want to come back to school because they kind of miss that cultural piece. I grew up in a predominantly Hispanic area, so I wasn't comfortable wearing my natural hair. You know, at this school, it's like afros, locks, twists. It's just like they're just themselves, and it's such a beautiful thing. You know, teachers, we're in certain areas, we're told to look professionally and your hair has to look a certain way. Here it's like a come as you were born type of thing. So that's something that we have kind of maintained virtually that our students are and our parents like greatly appreciate.
I'm taking a teacher field trip as soon as I can get the world is healthy. I'm coming to see you. Keith, what are some things that we've done in the Wichita schools?
Interesting things we've tried to do, particularly with, again, developing relationships with our kids. I'm sure others have heard of the 2x10 concept. We've embraced that quite a bit. 2x10 is this: when you find that kid that does not feel like they belong or they're struggling with various things, we're talking about 2 minutes each day for 10 days straight, where you ask the kid about, you know, what are your interests, what are your likes, and what's the music you like, and various things. The reason that that's important is because we have so many kids that they don't belong to certain groups. They may have distance issues. They may not have that support system outside of the school system. Our schools are quickly becoming a place of solace for our kids when it comes to receiving things that we assume that they received in their homes and in their communities. Those things are being provided by staff. And so that 2x10 tends to help, because if we could give a kid 2 minutes a day talking about what interests them 10 days straight, you'd be surprised at how that makes a huge difference. Another activity that we're pushing as well is called the baggage activity. And I guess it depends on the age of that student to be able to carry out that task. What it basically is if I'm that student, I would write out or verbalize, depending on my capabilities, I would write out the baggage that I'm carrying and bringing into the school. What's going on in my community, in my world, in my home, and various things. And the whole purpose is that that's shared amongst peers. And of course, there's nothing confidential. It's just the emotional, the social things that are needed. All the students would carry that out. And so it would show the baggage that students are carrying, because believe it or not, even at this age group, we have students that are carrying a lot of responsibility. They are students that's possibly taking care of their younger siblings at this age group as well. So that baggage exercise shares, that kid's able to vent and be able to share what they are dealing with so that others can understand when they come to class, they're just not being a bad kid. They have a lot of, that they're shouldering, a lot of burdens that they're shouldering as well. What we also try to do is look at any activity that we do for our kids. We want to ask, how does that benefit our students? And so as we look into various things, and particularly things that help our students all around, those things could get into what are we doing when it comes to being culturally relevant with education and various things of that nature, culturally relevant when it comes to discipline. Those are things we look at because it has an impact on our kids. And for us to get a better understanding of how those things impact them helps us to connect as well, particularly if we don't understand that certain behavior, but that behavior is not detrimental, but a student might be disciplined due to that. It's our responsibility to become culturally aware of what's going on with that student. And so in our schools, we're trying to get to be more culturally aware, culturally responsive in our education, culturally responsive when it comes to discipline in regards to process and procedures and policies as well, so that our kids are able to spend more time in the classroom learning social and emotional skills and not spending time in the office where they are possibly getting further behind on an educational basis.
And working with Keith here in the same school district, we have an equity task force that meets once a month. And there's populations of teachers and administrators. There's all kinds of folks in this group. And I will tell you that it's my favorite time of the month, where we all come together, and this idea of how can we elevate all children voices. I've never been a part of a conversation like that in any other school environment. So that's something that I have just treasured so much. Keith, why don't you explain to a little bit of what the task force is, and what is something another district could try to implement their own?
Right, we have equity work groups at our district. We have so far about 4 different task force groups under it. We're looking at males of color to address the needs of our young men that may be suffering from disproportionate discipline. Also, issues with behavior attendance to address those issues. Those task force groups offer advice to our administration, to our board, to help our students, and it's voluntary. The people on those task force are voluntary, but they offer a great array of information to help our students out. We also have our ladies of color, because we're finding out that they're also victims of disproportionate discipline that's been overlooked over time. And it's just to help with awareness and understanding of the culture of these young ladies, because they're victims of what we call adultification, to where they're trying to defend their position on various things, and people think they're just trying to be grown, so to speak. And so that task force offers insight, research, recommendations, so that we have a better understanding of our young ladies as well. We have training, particularly when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, that another task force works on to help out our teachers, our administrators as well. And we are soon to look into having an LGBTQ plus task force to help us understand our students, because even at an elementary level, we're starting to see an increase in the population, and how we address them, show respect, keep their dignity and pride, and allow them to be themselves. There's room for us to grow on that. So that task force are individuals who, they have that desire and heart to help out this district, help out that population by offering advice that's going to help us to grow and to be inclusive to all kids.
I love it. Well, we have just about 5 minutes left. And audience members, if you have other questions you'd like to put to the panel, please put them in the chat. We welcome those. Dana, we have this, like I said, we've kind of talked about it being in the end of the school year and all of those sort of things. What can a teacher do tomorrow? What can a teacher do next week to just help them get through another day, or at least to help find that passion of why we do this? Just that one last push. How can we help teachers help themselves?
That's the question I ask myself, to be honest with you, every day. And without going like out of the box, is just to what we talk about is that you've been placed here. God has placed you here for a reason. He could have put you at Walmart. He could have put you someplace else. Not that that's wrong, with working at Walmart. I love it. But to go back to our why, to be able to search deep, and to be able to give their students in their classroom the same type of environment that they would want someone to give their very own child. We know that every day is a hard day, but if you just come in and be the teacher that you would want someone to be for your own child, I think that will give you your spark every day. And I just love Keith's the 2x10. I think that that's a game changer with continuing to build those relationships with their students, and that's going to make them happier each day too. So that's what comes to mind right now.
Let's see. Joyce is also asking, Precious, I'd love to hear your process for getting to visit and connect with other classes and other places.
Yes, and I'm gonna put it in the chat box. The program is the program is called IEARN, IEARN. It's a platform of teachers internationally. We meet like in different areas. If you want to do cooking with another class, if you want to do a holiday gift exchange, anything, you go on this platform, kind of like how Facebook have different groups and you like join groups. So you join these different groups, you link up with classrooms, and then you can Skype each other. Well, because COVID, no one's really mailing anything, but pre-COVID, we mailed holiday gift cards to other classrooms. So we've received like gift cards from all over. We've had pen pals. We've done snack exchange, like the favorite candies in Chicago and the favorite candies there. We were like, change, snacks and things like that. So it's a really good way. Thank you, Diane. It's just a really good way to just open up your classroom and to just integrate cultures, break different misconceptions, that may be out there. And it's just a really good way to bring bring international global citizenship into your classroom.
And that's where my heart lives as well. I've been doing global collaboration since 2001.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it is through those experiences that I began to open my eyes to equity conversations.
Yeah.
It shifted me as a person, not just me as a practitioner.
It's a game changer. Yeah.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Also, Keith, what is something a teacher can do tomorrow to take better care of themselves or to help them take that last transition push to the end of the year?
I am a big fan in teachers learning to take care of themselves. I think teachers sometimes they put so much effort and heart into work. If they're not careful, the well-being tends to be compromised. And so, we have that statement, you can't fill another person's cup unless your pitcher is filled. I think sometimes, we need to take advantage of those employee assistance programs and mindfulness and various things so that we're 100%, because this is a time of the year that some of us are on fumes. And so it's just taking that, even having those brain breaks or something that is healthy for us so that we're able to make it to the end of the journey. And that's important because our students are depending on us to be able to make it to the end of the journey because they're with us. So to me, it's a matter of just taking care of ourselves. We also have emotional deficits, trauma issues. We have ACEs and different other things. It's great that we take care of our students, but we need to also try to make sure that we take care of ourselves. So my answer is making sure we take care of ourselves. That's not being selfish, that's being wise. And if we are at our best, then our kids are at their best.
Indeed. Last statement, Precious, what will be your word for this year of encouragement for yourself or your students?
Oh God. Definitely love. I have never expressed so much empathy, so much benefit of the doubt, so much, maybe just so much compassion as I have during this year, this year from March to March pandemic. And it's just like when we were physically in school, you meet people in passing and it's kind of like, okay, hi, but to just genuinely love and the definition of it, the essence of it, just seeing my students, my parents trying their best. So the one thing that I've just gotten a different definition of is what it truly means to love someone.
You're going to get me all hooked up. Keith, what's your word?
My word is connecting. And that's on all different levels. There's so much going on with our kids. Connecting with them is vitally important because having those kids leave elementary and go on to secondary, we want to make sure they do not leave our midst with a limp. That is our responsibility, to be able to equip them to be successful at another level. So mine is, let's do that through connecting.
Dana, your last word.
Relationships. Relationships matter, to the teacher, to the parents, to my custodians, to the cafeteria. If you validate who they are, we're all in it together, building those relationships, asking about their families, knowing about their families, and just making their day through the relationships that are built. A simple smile goes a long way, and the word please and thank you can go a long way also.
And I'll wrap it up with the word for this conversation, and it's gratitude. Thank you for your time, your wisdom, and your love of children and teachers. It's an honor to be here with you this evening, and I want to thank you one last time for all of the panelists, for all of our attendees. Thank you for joining us for a Teacher Talk. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and the wrap up of the school year. Be blessed, my friends.
Thank you.